They didn't expect me to make it, but somehow I did. 2 years ago today, I woke up super early in the morning realizing my heart was failing. Now, there's a hospital very close to the house, so instead of waiting for an ambulance to come and all that extra time, I drove myself to the hospital. In hindsight, it's a stupid idea, but I got myself there, almost. After passing out in the parking lot just outside of the ER doors, I remember little bits and pieces of the morning. I remember being wheeled into the emergency room. I remember laying on a gurney for a while. I remember being taken to a cardiac cath lab, and they're starting that procedure. I also remember everyone in the room getting really anxious and moving faster, preparing to run a code on me as everything faded. And then I lost a week of my life and woke up in July. By the way, in the meanwhile, I'd been moved from Austin to San Antonio's Methodist Hospital. My body didn't respond to the code meds. There was no shock because it was flatlined, but luckily I was in a hospital that had emergency ECMO equipment, basically a bypass pump to do the job of your heart when it won't. I also discovered that early in that week I'd been given my last rites, and visiting hours were very relaxed because they didn't expect me to make it. But somehow I did. Luckily for me, I was off the ECMO before I was conscious. They had put me on another kind of pump called an Impella, which basically did the job of half of my heart while I waited for a transplant, which I learned that I would need as soon as I was back functioning again. There are 59 days between June 26 and August 24. That's the day that I got my transplant. And then I continued to live in that ICU until September 9th when I finally went home. If you're into it, I have a longer video about that whole how I spent my summer experience. I just want to talk about since then, since I'm 2 years out. Physically, I'm doing pretty good. My resting heart rate is 75, which is pretty good for a heart transplant patient, and I exercise an hour to an hour and a half every day. I don't have that much in the way of restrictions except for a few dietary things that don't play well with my meds. Of course, I'm still taking a handful of meds every morning and every night and will the rest of my life. The wildest thing to me is that somebody had to die for me to live. Every now and again, I feel kind of guilty. Especially when I waste time, because it's like somebody gave me the biggest gift ever, and I get mad at myself when I'm not using it as much as I feel like I should. The number one goal is to live long enough to see my kids grow up, graduate, maybe someday be a grandfather. Not that I want them to hurry, but I mean, even now, you never know when time's up. Not too long ago, I was driving down Interstate 35 really early in the morning, and there was a car blocking the exit that I wanted to take, which was weird. I had to go around it on the right shoulder. There were already 2 police cars there as well. They were pulled over on the other shoulder. And the cops were standing outside just sort of talking to each other. And I looked inside the car that was blocking the lane, and I saw a man slumped over sideways in the car. He's in the driver's seat, laying. He was seatbelted in. I imagine if he weren't, he would have fallen over on the console. Time's up, right? I don't even know why the car stopped where it was. I guess he must have been in drive and coasting, and maybe the uphill was just too much for the car to continue forward. But he must have been there a while because they weren't in a hurry. They weren't rushing to get him out. They weren't doing CPR. There wasn't much traffic. Made me wonder how long he'd been there. Poor bastard was probably just on his way to work. Made me wonder if he knew what was coming or not. Made me think about how lucky I was to realize what was coming and do something about it. And how lucky I was that I went somewhere where somebody could do something about it. I'm constantly making the same joke that if you're going to have your heart stop, do it in a room full of cardiologists, because that's what I did. 5 stars would recommend. When you come back after something like that, you're still subject to all the same feelings and emotions as anyone else. I'm basically the same person except when I have a negative emotion like anger or disappointment, I also have an underlying guilt about it. Like being angry is wasting time that I've been given. And I try to do things I enjoy. Started working on guitars, which is fun. I have a channel about that, by the way, but I've been too jumbled to get the 3 or 4 videos I've made so far edited and uploaded. That's my goal for the next month, is to get those videos uploaded to that channel and start making more. I've got projects behind me that aren't done yet because I also still have ADHD. Got necks for cigar box guitars. And of course, cigar box guitars need cigar boxes. Got this beat up old Stella that I'm going to revive. It's missing some parts. It's stinky. Of course, it kind of feels like chapters in a story about old man does old man things, while simultaneously in my head, I'm not old. I only tend to realize I am when I see other people my age. Also spend a lot of time playing guitar and sometimes even jamming with my kids who both play instruments. Trying to work a set list up so I can start performing live again. Haven't done that in a decade and a half. After a year, the hospital let me know that I was clear to contact the donor family if I wanted to. I'm kind of apprehensive about it because I don't know what I'm getting myself into. Different people mourn different ways. Kind of afraid of what would happen if they were people that I didn't get along with. It would be disappointing and kind of sad. Of course, it's probably not the case. And for all I know, I could write a letter and they won't write back. I'm far away enough from that summer in the ICU that there are days where most of the day I don't even think about the heart transplant. Of course, I don't go the whole day without thinking about it. It's just impossible. Especially when I work out, I'm thinking about my heart rate and it reminds me, or I get out of the shower and look in the mirror and I see the zipper and all the other scars. Luckily, a lot of my scars are fading, by the way, although if they didn't, I'd still be proud of them. I'm lucky enough at my age to have very youthful skin, I guess. That youthful skin also makes it really hard for the phlebotomist to draw labs because they can't find veins. But maybe I should get really swole so the veins pop out, right? When my heart failed, it was just a couple days after I'd taken my kids to sleepaway camp. They're back from sleepaway camp this summer. They didn't go last year. Before going, my younger daughter almost didn't because she was apprehensive about what would happen. She was at camp last time and she had no idea what was going on. And to her, it was just a happy surprise that her aunt picked her up afterwards instead of her dad. She thought her aunt came to visit, and that's that. She found out a little while later that I was sick and in the hospital. I spent almost no time with my kids that summer. And I got to tell you, the older one's a teenager, so she has her teenager things she wants to do. But I can't help but be let down sometimes when the choice isn't hang out with dad. The younger one still hangs out with dad, although my time's limited. She's morphing into a teenager too. I belong to a few support groups, for heart transplant patients. For the most part, they're positive. They ask questions, a lot of the times the questions are answered with, go ask your heart team, your doctor. But there's one of them that really bothers me. It bothers me because it seems like a lot of the members don't appreciate their situation. They've been given dietary restrictions and they're, privately asking other members, hey, what do you think would really happen if I had some grapefruit? Just like ways to cheat the system. And some of them are even really negative about their doctors who saved their lives, saying things like, some of the dumbest people I know are doctors. Well, that's true for me too. Some of the dumbest people I've met, I was a nurse for 25 years, so this is bound to be true, have been doctors. But you know what? I'm not saying that about the people who put me here. When it comes to a team of people that do heart transplants, they know what they're doing. They're not guessing. They didn't graduate high school and just start. But people act like that's the case. It's like they're doubtful of instructions they've been given. It's like just follow the directions. I mean, we're told not to drive because you never know. I mean, if your heart all of a sudden stops. They also said not to ride in the front seat because of the airbag, because you've got a fresh sternal wound that's held together by a few wires that if the airbag hits you hard enough can kill you. But they insist on driving. One of my doctors told me he had a patient that came back for his first post-transplant biopsy, and he drove himself. I mean, if you're going for a surgery as it is, no matter what, and a heart biopsy is a surgery, you need to bring somebody to drive you home because of the anesthesia. It doesn't matter whether you're getting a heart biopsy or hemorrhoids removed. And he came alone, and he drove because he knew better. There are people asking about herbal supplements to replace some of the medications they've been given. People who don't limit their alcohol. I'm effectively sober. If somebody's having a champagne toast, I might have a little bit of champagne. Usually I'll end up dumping half of my glass into my wife's glass because I won't finish it. I don't know why after being given a second chance you'd want to be non-compliant about the rules. I don't get it. That's probably its own video, right? I'm hoping I continue to make videos on this channel. I got so many ideas. I haven't acted on them yet because the combination of busy and ADHD and energy levels. I've thought I was going to a few times before, especially early on. I felt ready to attack anything about 3 months out of the hospital, not realizing just how much of a toll all of it had taken on me and how little energy I really had. It took me 2 years to get where I am now, where I'm almost 100% normal. Who wants to be 100% normal anyway? Just got to get the momentum. I'm good when I get momentum. Especially stuff that you lock in. Yeah, incidentally, I haven't had any Adderall since June of 2024. Should probably find a non-stimulant ADHD med. I just don't have it in me to go find another psychiatrist. This is a very rambling video. I thought it'd be more, I don't know what, poignant? I don't even really know what that word means. A lot of people say that after you get a transplant, you could take on the personality traits of the donor. It could be possible, and I just haven't noticed. But I haven't been told that I'm different. I seem to be the same person. I have weird thoughts. Thoughts about what's out there besides being in a body. Really thought about it earlier on, like for the first few months after the transplant when I was having hallucinations all the time. Try being conscious and sober and having very convincing hallucinations. It's a mind fuck. But yeah, I think about, is there a reason I saw these things? Are they there? And am I the same me from before? Or am I just a copy? Is that weird? It's weird. Like maybe the me that was before actually died and maybe I just got lucky to jump into another reality. Or am I even real? I still weird out about the fact that I was completely unconscious for one of my heart surgeries and I could recall the playlist of songs that my wife had set up for me to play on the radio in the OR when I went in. And all the surgeons commented on my taste in music after when I was finally conscious. But the thing that really gets me is for some reason that I can't point out, and I've looked at the lyrics, nothing about that. When I hear the horn riff in Spoon's song, The Underdog, I get goosebumps. It takes me back to then. Such an upbeat, bouncy, major chord song, and it makes me cry. One thing I'd really like to do is reverse this slow decline of interpersonal interaction that has been happening since the start of this decade. For everyone, but for me, I don't keep touch with people so much anymore, and I need to change that. I hope I'm not boring you. Want chocolate? It's not really a chocolate, it's a chopped up protein bar. I wish this video would finish up in some sort of clever closing statement about honoring the time that you've got for life or doing the most you can or all of that. But I'm not smart enough to, and not important enough really, to put that out there for everyone. Whoever is still watching, I hope things are good for you. Thanks for listening to my rambles. And until next time.